Hello, beautiful vegans. It's Mariquita Solis here tonight with a special guest, Angela Fischetti, who is here ready to get our butts in action to move. She's a leader in this workout field. So um, I just want to say thank you for joining. You were here a year ago, and I'm honored that you were back. So tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, Angela.
Well, I'm here to present a workout because my mission in life is to basically spread the word of how important it is to take care of oneself through our diet of whole food, plant exclusive or plant based, and through exercise, but more specifically about strength training and also doing appropriate cardio and yoga. But this evening's presentation is going to be about resistance training, but I won't be lifting weights. And you know, Mariquita, I love to lift weights, right? But weights are not accessible to everybody. And so part of my mission is to make the work less exclusive, because I think there is a lot of exclusivity involved in the fitness field. You know, not everybody can afford to go to a gym member, to have a gym membership. Not everybody can afford to buy dumbbells for home, what have you. But my mission is to be able to show people that you don't have to have a huge expense in order to stay fit. Heck, you can also just work your body outside if you want to. But this is a little bit more honed in to help those who typically will use bands and tubes and things like that. And it's all part of my mission of spreading the word. And I've been doing this for 35 years. And primarily my demographic has been 50 years up into 90s and 100, and now at 65 myself, and I'm at it for 35 years. That demographic never changed, but I did about, I want to say 22 years ago, got myself certified in prenatal yoga, just because I wanted the experience of working with the opposite end of the spectrum. Because sometimes when the work is all geriatric, you know, it hurts the soul sometimes because people pass, right? And so that's why, just to have that little opposite side of helping bring life in, and that has been a blast also, of teaching prenatal yoga to women, and times being told you can't tell anybody I'm pregnant, but you got to teach prenatal, and I'm like, okay, just let me know when you're ready to talk about it, because I have to change my languaging, just fun stuff like that. But watching these kids grow up then, and they continue on with yoga. It's amazing. It's like, I have a client, and she's been with me, I don't know, 20 years as for instruction, as a student, and then as a private client. She was pregnant a couple of times during the beginning stages, and then when these adult children come home now, from college, they're like, hey, we want to do yoga. So it's just a beautiful way of spreading the word toward different generations. But another part of this mission for me has been, really, Mariquita, we've got to get a hold of women when they're younger, to begin this process of resistance training, strength training, because things happen like it did with myself, with my own medical issues. And I was diagnosed with having the osteoporosis, literally told to me of a 90-year-old, because I had my own setbacks in my health challenges. And I waited and waited, and I finally just immersed myself in all of this. And yes, I downgraded to osteopenia, which is not a pathology. It's an absolute normal occurrence for women, for anybody as we age, to lose bone density. It's natural. So, but my message is, come on, let me get you younger. Let me get you around 40, especially. Let's start hitting the weights. Let's start doing the resistance work. So that's what I've been all about. I love doing it virtually. I work for several different platforms that bring me on, whole food, plant-based platforms, to teach strength training and yoga in video format. And it's just an amazing way to lead my life at this point.
Well, that's exciting. I'm excited to have you here, and that's a good reminder. I was looking down to make sure I have my weights, so they're here.
Great.
And yeah, so I'm excited to see JJ, and Cassandra's going to catch the replay.
Replay.
She says, and Linda's here, so wonderful. Yeah, and Florence is here. Florence
Oh,
Marzon.
hello. That's so wonderful. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate the support.
Yeah, so are you ready?
I'm ready to go, girl.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. I'm going to get off the screen, and you take over. Here we go.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you so much. I'm just going to adjust my camera here a little bit. Stepping that. Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're joining us this evening for some strength training. This one I'm calling a portable workout because it is designed that you could do it anywhere, anytime, indoors, outdoors, because of what the accessories are. So the exercise accessories we're using today, look, number one, I'm standing on a yoga mat. And I'm a big fan of yoga mats versus exercise mats because the exercise mats slip and slide around. You want to have your mat on a flat surface, and you don't want to have anything like a throw rug underneath. And frankly, folks, I think you ought to throw the throw rugs out, but that's a whole nother issue. Now, the other accessories we're going to be using. I'm using two types of exercise tubing. One type is fixed handles. And then the other type, they are clip-on adjustable handles, so they act as an extender. Then we also will be using a monster cord, an exercise loop, and a TheraBand, aka Dynaband, and a fit ball. Now let me show you the fit ball. They're great, they're small, they're not expensive at all, they're squishy. They don't burst, supposedly, and they're also known as a Pilates ball. Now, I want to caution you though, every single item here is made from latex. So if you have a latex allergy, then please look for either non-latex or latex-free. The other thing I want to do is give you a couple of tips regarding the use of bands and loops. So first off, I'm going to look right into a light, and I'm looking for a tiny pinhole, because if I see one, and unless it's at the tail end where I can easily cut it off and then continue to use the band, then I'm going to toss the band, because I've been there, did that, folks. The band, if it's near your face and it snaps, that hurts, all right? Now, when you go to store your bands, never store them where they're knotted. You're never going to get them unknotted, okay? The other thing that you want to do is do not store them wet with your sweat or any kind of water on them. And then finally, when you store them, to maintain the shelf life, I would put them inside a zipper lock bag with just a little bit of non-GMO cornstarch. Now be careful, you're not baking a cake, right? It's just a little bit, and then each time you go to use a band, you shake the bag and it'll be nice and supple for you. Now this is going to lead me into other medical disclaimers. Now, when I rattle off this list, folks, it's not something that is, oh, well, I'm going to get that if I do the exercise. No, this is for people who have pre-existing issues. And what I ask you to do is to please pay attention to the modifications and the adjustments that I make for you. So specifically, I am referring to any back spine issue whatsoever that you've ever been diagnosed with. I'm not kidding. In particular, if you've ever been told no forward flexion, no bending down and picking up something, particularly something of weight. So oftentimes that's associated with osteoporosis, but not exclusive to it, all right? Then also, if you've ever been diagnosed with golfers or tennis elbow, so that's medial epicondylitis, lateral epicondylitis. If you've ever had a TIA, a transient ischemic attack, or a stroke, if you have knee issues, if you've ever been diagnosed, medicated or not for hypertension, if you have a pinched nerve, rotator cuff issues deep within the shoulders, or carpal tunnel syndrome. Please pay attention to the modifications, but I also invite you all to preview the workout first. Maybe you're coming to a replay. Preview the video first before you participate in it. This is super important, and I'm going to tell you, please, because we are so good at knowing what we can't do, because we've had chronic issues for many years, I'm going to ask you to look at the videos from the perspective, find one movement you can do. Find it. It'll be there for you, I promise. But if you're still unsure after you preview the video, then I would invite the medical healthcare practitioner who knows your body best to preview it as well, and therefore help you make an informed decision. Now, for those of you with back, spine, knee issues, well, I'm going to show you something when it comes to squats, all right? You can come to the wall and do what's called a wall seat. Now, you don't see it because of the camera, but we have the feet a little further out in front. Now, if I go really low and I have knee issues, I don't know about that, right? I mean, if you don't have a knee issue, fine. But if you do, I would say stay up a little bit higher. The knees are still bent, and you're going to get the work, and your back is supported. So there's no forward flexion for those of you with that issue. You can choose to slide up and down, or maybe time yourself at the wall. So it's a great way to take it, to do this if you have those issues. Today, we're going to be working on one set. Now, a set is a group of repetitions, and we're going to be doing 8 to 15 reps. But that's for the demo. We're going to add on 2 to 3 more sets for the full out workout. Now, in between the sets, we're going to take a 20 to 25 second rest. However, I designed this 8 exercises in 4 series of blocks, 2 exercises each. This means we're going to incorporate the approach called supersetting. So we're going to be training 2 opposing muscle, not opposing, I shouldn't say that, 2 different muscles back to back without any rest. And then after that block, we're going to take some stretches. So that's going to help you out. Now, the other thing that's going to help you out is for our warm-up. Well, I have to take all these issues into consideration, right? So for the first time, we're going to do every single exercise straight through all 8 exercises without resting, but without any additional resistance, just your body. And this is where I'm going to show you the modifications, etc. And let me see if there's anything else that I need to tell you. No, I think that's about it. So we're going to get started now. So the first exercise is called a sumo squat. You know, like a sumo wrestler, right? So they usually have their prep is with their legs wide apart. However, I want to show you. This is a basic squat. So let's teach you this. We're going to stand with the feet, hips width apart. So you find the high pelvic bone called the iliac crest. You move your fingers and you might feel like a bony projection, pointy projection. This would be the anterior superior iliac spine. You bring your hands to the inside. You line up your ankles to your knees to the inside of the pelvic bone for a basic squat. Now I'm going to face this way. I'm just going to perform 2 repetitions so you understand what's happening before we do sumo squat. So I'm lifting the toes inside the shoes. Folks, I'm not lifting the whole ball of the foot, just the toes. I'm going to sit back into a chair, and then as I come up, I take a slight posterior pelvic tuck. There's a slight squeeze at the glute. What it is not is this, where you're jamming forward, all right? I sit back into a chair and slowly come up, pelvic tuck, belly button in. Now I'm going to face you for the sumo squat. Feet a little bit wider than hips width, right? Now, I'm going to tie in an arm movement that I want you to do if you have, if you are medicated or not for hypertension, if you have pinched nerve or rotator cuff issue. This is the arm position we're going to do for you. So my feet are going to be slightly turned out. I'm going to go wider because I like it for myself. I can engage the glute more. And here we go. I sit back into a chair, exhale up. So inhale, this is delt abduction, ABD, going away from the midline of the body. Exhale, delt adduction, going in toward the midline. Inhale, exhale. Now my knees are tracking over the second to third toe. The reason I am lifting up from the heels is so that I drive the work into the posterior extensor chain of the body. That's the extensor muscles of the back, the extensor muscles of the glutes. And guess what? Even the front chain is involved with the quadriceps. We've got the hamstrings involved. We've got the calves and the shins involved, all by just simply lifting the toes. Let's take a couple of more repetitions. Exhale. So we inhale and then exhale on the effort. So it's E-E. Exhale, effort. Let's go for one more. Notice I'm not flying through the work. Release. Bring the feet together. Let's take a couple shoulder rolls. Now, the next exercise is called an upright row. However, this can be dicey for those of you with rotator cuff and pinched nerve issues. Just checking if there was anything else with it. Yeah. So what I want to show you folks is this exercise you can do as a modification. I'm going to turn my back to you because I want you to see between the shoulder blades. So the arms come out and they're arcing back. Now I'm going to show you from the side. What I am not doing is a forward head projection. It's not about how far back they go. It's just about the shoulder blades, scapulae retracting in toward each other. But the exercise we're going to do in the routine for the rest of us who don't have those issues is called an upright row. Standing with the feet hips width, pelvic tuck, belly button in. And if you think about the movement, I watch people in movement. And whenever I see somebody lifting luggage out of a trunk, this is how they lift it. But I'm going to keep my torso upright. I'm not going to bend forward and back. That's an upright row. So we're getting the shoulder girdle, we're getting the upper back muscles, deltoids. And do understand, much like our food, our movement, our exercise is not reductionist. People will tell me, well, it's just right there on my back. It's right there. It's right there. It's just that muscle. No, it's not. No, it's not. We are systemic. And that's the way it is, folks. So when I do this exercise, many major muscles are involved. Yes, some are primary movers and others are assisting. I had an aunt that I used to live with, and she used to wash her clothing in her kitchen sink with an old-fashioned scrub board. What do you think the movement she did was this? It was just faster, right? Which we don't want to work like that. So we're going to go for two more. Exhale, inhale to lower. And the inhale and exhale is through the mouth now, folks, for training. Slowly lower the arms, take some shoulder rolls. All right, our next block is a combination of what I call a fit ball squat and a standing chest press. So this is where I'm going to grab my ball. If you don't have a ball, grab a pillow, grab a soft yoga block, fold up a towel. You can do a DIY. So I'm going to take the ball, plug faces away from the skin, hips width, put the ball between the thighs, almost down between the knees. I lift the toes inside the shoe, and now I'm going to sit back into a chair. So what am I doing here? Well, I'm tying in the adductor muscles. And when we have a tube with this, we're really also focusing on cognition because we're doing multiple movements at once. Now, there are people who teach 5, 6 movements at once, which is great. But however, I have to keep this in control a bit, so I can't risk anybody out there getting hurt because I don't physically see you. But I do want to challenge you, right? So we bring that ball in. Now be careful, because sometimes when you have the ball too far back, it can go flying out behind you. You want that little pelvic tuck at the top. Now, what if you don't have this same range of motion? That's it. See that? That's still doing a squat. Go back to the wall seat if you need to. I'm going to go for 3 more. Exhale up. Inhale down. Exhale, take the squeeze. 1 more. And release. Now I'm going to do a standing chest press. So we bring the arms out like so. It's called a wide grip. We want to keep this area lifted. We don't want this to happen. So what we're going to do is push and push. You can see the muscles being activated. Pectoralis major of the chest, front deltoid of the shoulder, tricep muscle, the back of the upper arm. Now, what is the big deal about this? Why do we need this area to be strong? Because I want you to be able to push against a heavy grocery cart, right? You have your hips involved and the pecs and the front delt and the tricep. When you push a seriously heavy door open, you need to be able to recruit all that. Now, you might want to take it on an incline or on a decline, as long as you're puffing up, and you're going to feel it, folks, both men and women underneath that breast tissue. Last one. Release. Okay, now the next block is going to be deadlifts, ooh la la on this one, and military press. Here's the difference between a squat and a deadlift. You saw this before, right? You did this with Fitball. I'm going to keep my feet like this for the moment. Well, here's the deadlift. It's a hip hinge. This is an absolute contraindication for the back spine, particularly those who are told not to bend down and pick up something. Forget it. Please don't do this. Please go back to either the sumo squat or the Fitball squat. So I'm going to just show this one more time like this. And now I'm going to show you the way I want to do it today. I didn't name it this. I don't think it's particularly politically correct. It is the name of the exercise. It is called a Romanian deadlift, simply meaning wide leg. Now, I come down, hands are touching my front shins and thighs, and then I come up. And I'm going to come to the side for you. Want to make sure you can see my sneakers. So you see the position of the feet. Squeeze. Hip hinge. Now, what if you don't have all those issues, but you're tight, right? So, okay, I'm going to look in the camera, and here's the hip hinge with a small movement. Knees are bending. I'm hinging. That's a deadlift. I'm okay with that, folks. Working those extensor muscles, posterior chain. I want you to be able to bend down and pick up something and get back up without a hitch. We're going to do a few more. I like the feet wide, especially for females, because we can activate those gluteals a little bit more this way. One more, and turn forward. And now we're doing our military press. Okay, those of you medicated for hypertension or not, whether you're on the medication or not, all right. Those of you with the rotator cuff issue, and those of you with pinched nerve, you're not going to do this exercise. This is the one that you're going to do. We're going to keep the chest nice and tall. I'm going to step closer so you can see here. And anterior deltoid raise, front delt raise. Notice the palms are facing each other. That's what you folks do. The rest of us, I'm coming down onto one knee because I want you to see the full extension of my arms overhead. It's called a military press, also known as a shoulder press. Arms like so. It's a wide grip. This is a narrow grip, like this actually, technically. But I would like you to do a wide grip and exhale, lift up and down. Now, I have to tell you with females that this is, I think, the weakest area that I have seen over the 35-year course of my career at doing this. This is a big deal, folks, because we have to be able to put things away in an upper cabinet or maybe in a high up into a closet. But here's the thing. You want to be able to pull it back down without it collapsing on you. I know somebody who got seriously injured by doing it because he wasn't strong enough. And I'm emphasizing the he. Could you imagine if he was a she, right? So we want to make sure that everyone is strong in those deltoids. Couple more. Now, also bicep, tricep is assisting. Other parts of the back are assisting. I'm going to go for one more. Now, I'm going to turn to my side for a second. I want you to show you something. So the toes are tucked under. I'm going to place my hands on this knee, and then you just come on up that way, all right? And then the last block before we tie in the equipment now is, my version of what's called bow and arrow. This is a tricep exercise. I have to tell you, I don't like how it's typically taught, so I kind of made it my own. I'll show you in a moment. And then the other exercise for biceps is going to be what's called Arnold curls. Yes, they were named for him, and I chose it specifically because it ties in the osteoporotic sites of forearm and wrist. Now, this is what I would like you to pay attention to. Those of you with golfers or tennis elbow, medial or lateral epicondylitis, I have done so much research on this topic, and I have to tell you, I can't state that there's a definitive contraindication because it really is based on the individual. So if you have those issues, you need to touch base with that medical healthcare practitioner who understands your issues, all right? And you folks can do what I would say is to play it safe. I would go back to this exercise, but what I would do is one round this way with the palms facing down, which is prone, and then another round supine. Because notice when it's supine, you're going to tie in some more bicep this way, all right? So this is what the movement will look like. So I'm going to hold up my left hand like so, and it's a direct line in front of my shoulder, all right? The right hand, well, I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to pretend I'm holding a loop. This is going to give me resistance, this arm. And for tricep work, we have to extend the elbow. You work with extension. You want to make sure the elbow doesn't do this kind of thing, folks, doesn't go backwards. The other thing is I don't want a bent wrist because that's not good for carpal tunnel. So we want a straight wrist. Take your time. And what's happening here is you're working isometrically the entire shoulder, which is really cool. And then you're also going to be working, when you have that resistance, you're going to feel the bicep as well. So typically, I'm going to do this as a last repetition. Typically, bow and arrow is more like this, right? The exercise. I don't see much tricep involvement other than this arm holding isometrically. I want to see more movement for you, okay? Now, turn the hand around. Opposite hand, I'm pulling on this side, and out we go. Same thing. Take your time. Nobody's in a hurry here. I know that a lot of teachers teach, get in as many as you can in X amount of seconds. That's appropriate, but I don't think it's appropriate for 50 to 100 years old when there are chronic issues involved. We need to be smart, and there are ways of working safely and effectively, and let's accomplish the goal. We want to affect pathology. We want to affect it, prevent it, halt it. It's all possible. I certainly have done that myself. Last one. And we take it down, take some shoulder rolls. Okay, Mariquita, we are ready to take it with the equipment now. So the first block, sumo squats, followed by upright rows. I'm going to grab my tubing now with the handles, the clip-on handles. And whenever you step on a tubing, you want to make sure it's underneath the arches of your sneakers. Let me step back a little. We're going to bring the legs out. And I'm going to get down there, lift up my tubing, Now, the handle is resting in the heels of my hands. My wrists are not bent, all right? Toes turned out, toes same line as each other, toes lifted. Inhale, sit back, exhale, up, hold. I'm not too sure if this tubing is gonna hold up. Might not, but I have a spare one on the floor waiting for me just in case. So here is the pelvic tuck with the squeeze of the butt. Again, I really like the legs wider so that we can feel the engagement of the gluteals. Having strong gluteals is extremely important, folks. It doesn't equate with tight gluteals, but strong gluteals, because you see, if they're weak, we can just fall and give way. And that doesn't always lead to a good consequence, right? You know, with a broken hip. So let's work on those gluteals. Go to your range of motion. Remember, back spine and knee issues can use that wall seat. You can do this with your legs wide apart at the wall seat as well. I'm going to go for 2 more. Exhale. Last one. Okay, easy when you release. These can snap away from you. I'm now going to grab my tube with fixed handles. And this is where I do the upright row. Remember, those of you that I showed that back exercise, arcing the arms. So with an upright row, I'm going to stand. Whoop, I want you to see the sneakers. So I'm going to stand with the feet together. For me, you might not need to do that. I'm crisscrossing my handles of the tube. Pelvic tuck and no bent wrist. We don't want elbows dropping down. Nope. Lead from the elbow. The wrist will follow. Lead from the elbow. Chest is up. Inhale, exhale on the lift. Inhale as you lower. Exhale as you raise. Inhale as you lower. Let's do a few more. I want 2 more, please. Whoa, yep, that'll do it. All right, back to my sumo squats. That's what's meant by supersetting, back to back. Feet wide, toes turned out, belly button in, handles resting in the heels of the hands. Here we go. Stop and rest whenever you need to, please, but don't quit. Take your rest and come back in, even if it's just 1 more repetition. Please stay hydrated with water. I know nothing about flavored waters, teas, coffee. I only know about water. 2 more. 1 more. Easy. Easy on the release. Upright row, please. Or arcing the arms open. Underneath the arches of the shoes. Crisscross if need be. Stand tall, belly button in, slight pelvic tuck, knees soft. Here we go. Woo-hoo. Two more. Oh man. 1 more. Whoa, that's it. Now we're going to stretch it out. Be careful with your tubing. Make sure you don't walk around with the tubing down by your feet. Okay, now I want to stretch out the quadricep muscles here. So I'm going to hold on here, lift my foot behind me. Now I'm going to take a pelvic tuck pull the heel toward the butt. Must you touch your butt to get the stretch? No. And maybe you can't even reach your foot with your hand. You can use your tube, wrap it around your ankle, and lift the foot up and back. But what is important is that this knee is not out in front because you won't get a stretch. Belly button is pulled in. If you want to challenge your balance, you can hold on to that foot with both hands. However, if you have vestibular issues and you're doing this by yourself, don't do it. All right? You go back to holding on. Release, take it to the other side. Now, when you're training on your own, I'd like you to hold your stretches at least for 30 seconds. Let them kick in. Let the body know you're taking care of it. This is part of the recovery from the exercise. Pulling in, standing tall, pelvic tuck. And release it down. Lovely. Now the next one, arms out in front. I'm showing you that my wrists are lower than my shoulders. The chest is puffed up. Now we're going to crisscross, one hand over the other. No interlocking of the fingers, lots of energy forward through the fingertips. And then I gaze my eyes down at the fingers. I do not do this, folks. I don't want that forward head projection for you, just looking at the fingers. Inhale, exhale, crisscross, opposite hand, lengthen, reach, stretch those upper trapezius muscles and other upper back, shoulder, neck structures. And release it down, a little shoulder roll. Now we're going to do the football squats, but we're going to tie in the tubing, and we're going to do that with the standing chest press. You all know your modifications. So what I'm taking here is, my football and my preset handles here. Ball between the thighs, inner knees. This time, take the tubing, again, underneath the arches. Just have to make sure they're even. 1 second. There we go. All right. Get down into it. Here we go. And sit back. Take it up. Really squeeze that ball. We don't want it popping out and away because you're not applying energy, that you're not squeezing. You need to really actively squeeze it for the entire set. Inhale, sit back, toes are up. Exhale. Just so my foot was slightly uneven. Let's go for 3 more. Yes, I'm feeling it. Easy when you release. Set the ball down. Now I'm going to grab my band. And I just recently leveled up with the gray color. So it's very easy to level up with the resistance bands and tubes, what have you. Just change color. You don't have to buy a whole nother big thing of equipment. And sometimes it's just the adjustment of how you hold it too. All right, so the band goes above the shoulder blades. Now, for those of you new to using bands, you might want to have a short sleeve shirt on because it might feel a little tender up against your skin. So I'm going to puff up the chest. Here's my wide grip and push. And exhale, push. So look at the breastbone area, the sternum. And you can see the muscles activated. You want to be able to push your grandchildren in their strollers, right? Without any issue. Now here's where you can tie it. Incline, crisscross. Decline, crisscross. Couple more. You see that I do work with workout gloves to protect my skin. 1 more. And release. Back to football squats. Place the ball. I'm going to stand a little closer now. You've seen the feet. Okay, let's get on down into it. Here we go. 1 second. Yeah, I got it now. All right. I'm going to turn here for you. Here we go. And you know that upper body is working, holding your arms up like this with resistance. So that's isometrically working. Breath in and out through the nose. Stop and rest when you need to. Hydrate. Let's go 3 more. Oh yeah, easy does. Careful, you don't want it to snap away. I'm going to grab that band for the chest press. Placing it up and around the shoulder area. And here we go. Boom. So, studies have been done, folks, comparing resistance bands and tubes to machines in a gym and to dumbbells. Yep, you still gained strength by using the resistance bands and tubing. It is actually pretty equivalent. Where there is a difference is it has to do with bone density, all right? But if that's a non-issue, or if you're doing your strength training all along, you should be pretty okay. You'll be able to maintain yourself through the use of the bands and the tube. You can hear my voice reflecting the work. And release. All right, let's stretch it out. So because we use the ball, I want to stretch out those adductor muscles. So those of you with back spine, sit in a chair, legs wide apart with the toes slightly turned out, and then you're going to press your thighs open. Don't push them to their maximum, especially if you have osteoporosis, okay? For the rest of us, legs wide. Now, you might need to do this with, like, in front of a sofa, all right, so you can stabilize yourself. But if you don't need to do that, then you just shift your body weight into the left hip, left glute and thigh. And now I'm stretching the right inner thigh. Perhaps you have the flexibility to bring the hands to the floor, but I want that head up, especially for those of you with hypertension, right, medicated or not, vertigo, GERD, just keep the head up. Don't drop it down. And then I'm going to walk it on over, shift back into my right glute, stretching the left adductor area. And breathe. Now, if you like to do this and you feel perfectly well with it, we already know back spine is not doing this. You're going to then walk the hands in so that the fingertips are in the same line as the toes. Notice I turned my heels out laterally a little bit more, and I'm lengthening the spine down toward the floor, letting the head go. Oh, this feels really nice. It's called a separated leg stretch. I come up onto the fingertips. I look out in front. I inhale. Exhale, hands to the waist, hold. Inhale, pull the torso forward and up. And then exhale, you can release the arms. You can heel toe your feet together. Take a couple of shoulder rolls. All right, now we're going to do deadlifts, Romanian style, and the military press, shoulder press. Remember, with the deadlifts, total contraindication for those of you with back spine. So I'm going to take this with a monster cord, and it's called that for a reason. They're pretty darn big, all right? And same thing as I did with the tube, it's going to go underneath the arches of my shoes. This I do want you to see the feet. Now, you know, there's not a lot of resistance here for me to do this, right? So what I'm going to do is, well, I'm going to use that bottom piece, and I'm going to call that a second chord. And then I'm going to lift it, and now here we go. Hinging, hinging. My knees are soft. They're bent slightly. They are not stick straight. Do not confuse this for those of you who might know about the straight-legged deadlift. It's just not appropriate for this class. I'm not saying don't do it at other times, but for us and what we're trying to achieve in our health during these years, if there's those pre-existing issues, I would keep those knees bent. And not a big, deep bend either. Working the posterior extensor chain. Give that squeeze at the butt, at the top. Keep that head up. Why do we want the chin up? Well, we want the cervical spine of the neck to duplicate the position of the lumbar spine of the low back. They both produce a natural lordotic curve, which implies a back extension, a back bend. Last one. And easy with the monster cord, because this thing can really pull you. Careful, make sure it's away from your feet before you start walking. And we're doing this with the military press. Remember this one for those of you who have the contraindications. I think I'm using this tube. Yes, I am. I have a 4x3 board in front of me, folks. That is a really big cheat sheet. Okay, so we're standing on the tubing. The wider you stand, the more resistance you have, all right? So that's another way of adjusting. I come down, and here we go. Up, exhale, handle rests in the heels of the hands. So remember, hypertension, rotator cuff, you are not doing this exercise, you're doing the front delt raise, anterior delt raise. Exhale. Man, when I peter out the delts, I really peter out. And that's it for me. And we're going to take it down. Back to our Romanian deadlifts. I think I'm going to show it to you now from the side, all right? So it's going to go underneath those arches. I just want to make sure you see both feet. Yeah, okay. I'm going to grab that bottom piece, pull her up, I think. Wait a minute. It slipped out. Okay, let's get her this way. All right, okay, good. All right. So I'm going to break down why it's Romanian. See, I'm not going lower than my knees. Watch if the knees are bent. Watch that I'm squeezing the butt up top. Hip hinge. Belly button is in. For our purposes, toes lifted inside the shoes. I always work like that. Exhale. Again, wanting you to be very strong, to be able to bend down and pick up something on your own without getting hurt. Wow, I feel this. Last one. Wow. Whoa. And easy on the release. One more round of military press, shoulder press. Delt raises for those of you with the contraindications. Front delt raise. And onto the tubing underneath the arches, right? I'm going to go a little wider just to see what it feels like. Maybe it's too much. I don't know. And up. And are you breathing out there? Are you giving yourselves a little break if needed? If you don't need it, go for it. Don't get yourselves parched. Drink. Those of us in Florida, we're feeling some serious heat lately. I know Florence must be as well. I'm going to go for one more. Whoa. Yes. And down. All right, let's stretch it out. So because we were doing so much flexion with the deadlift, right, bending forward, we need to counter that with an extension. So I'm going to show you here from the side. Place your hands on your sacrum. The sacrum is the like inverted triangular shaped bone at the base of your spine. Now, right away, I'm going to tell you, this is contraindicated for carpal tunnel syndrome, this position. Doesn't matter the position of the arm or the forearm. It matters the position of the wrist and hand. That, yep, no matter what position I'm in, this is going to be a wrist extension. What you're going to do is make a soft fist. Don't turn the nails in. They can cut into you. I'm not looking for that kind of fist. And you just gently place it on the upper portion of the glutes. Or you can reach down below the glutes, and then you can work that way so that the wrists don't bend. I'm going to keep myself to the side here, but I'm going to go wider, folks. So if you want to go wider with me, go for it. Hands on the sacrum. I'm going to look straight out in front, and I'm going to encourage the sacrum to slide down toward the heels. Does it slide in life? No. All right? But I want you to think it does. And keeping the knees bent or straight, it's up to you. Now, maybe this is your entire range of motion. That's okay. That's a back bend as far as I'm concerned. Stay within your limits, all right? I'm going to keep going because I can. Roll the shoulders back. Now hold. Those of you with transient ischemic attack in your background, a TIA or a stroke, I want that head neutral. Don't drop it back. Ditto. Those of you with the hypertension, medicated or not, and GERD and vertigo, keep that head neutral. The rest, well, you go to what is comfortable for you, folks. And breathe. And I can straighten my knees. Now to come out of it, I lift up on the kneecaps. It's an isometric contraction of the quadricep to lift us up on the inhale. Exhale, shoulder roll it. And for the shoulder girdle area, you're going to take your arms like so, interlock your fingers. However, if you have been told, for those of you medicated or not for hypertension, not to squeeze the fingers, then you place one hand on the other. You can see me sweating here. So sorry about that. We're going to take it on up. I'm just squatting down a little bit more so that you can see the position of the hands. What I am not doing is this. This is really not so great for pinched nerve nor for rotator cuff issues. Watch the wrist extension. Those of you with the carpal tunnel, you can turn your hands like so. Palms are forward, and I'm just one hand on the other. Now, just gentle on the neck, turning the head side to side. But for those of you with vertigo, you may not like this, so don't do that part of it. Just making sure the neck is doing all right, nice and loose. I like to think of this as like a basketball hoop. And head forward, lower the arms down, shoulder roll. Last round, last block we have is the unilateral, one arm, bow and arrow for the triceps, and the Arnold curls for the biceps. Grabbing my loop, and I tested it out before in the light, I promise, okay? So I'm gonna hold this here, this hand, right hand, facing the right wall. Elbow straight out. I'm pulling on that left arm out. Now, I want to make sure that wrist doesn't bend, because then that's contraindicated for carpal tunnel. This is the way I like to do it. I want to see that elbow extend on my tricep work. Especially for us Now, what if it's too easy? I'm gonna pull harder here. Oh, yeah. That makes a big difference. Yike. Whew. I'm gonna go back in a little. It's a little too much. Yep. Let's go for 2 more. Out there. Out there. 1 more so you can see it from behind a little bit more. All right. Now, turn it around. Opposite. Pulling here. That the left palm faces the left wall and out. Exhale. So we're working those deltoid muscles of the shoulders, big time stabilizers here because they're isometrically holding us up. Remember, exercise is never reductionist. Oh man, I feel a bicep too on the way in. Exhale. I'm going to ease up on the right arm.
I have a question.
Sure.
From Florence. Can you explain the colors of the tubing as well as the bands?
No, every manufacturer has their own colors. They used to all be simultaneous. They don't. They just create colors and name it light, medium, whatever. So you just want to look on it and see what the packaging reads, how you distinguish how much resistance something has. Now, let me just bring for my Arnold curls. I knew someone was going to ask that. It's perfectly reasonable. For years, Florence, all the manufacturers made everything to be the same resistance, same color, until they didn't. So that was it. All right, Arnold curls. Arms out wide. Here we go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in closer for you. So you saw the feet. You know what's going on down below. Puff up the chest. Here we go. So now my forearms are getting a lot of work. You can see the biceps are definitely working. But I love the fact that the additional work is in the forearms and wrists. You folks ought to know that I broke this right wrist on April 16th, 2022. And I strength trained the whole time with a cast on. Nothing was in my hand. Nothing. I worked just below the elbow joint. I had about a 2 to 3 inch patch of skin exposed, and I put tubes and resistance bands there. And I did not go back to being osteoporotic that I once was. We were petrified that I was going to get that again. I did not. All because of the use of bands. Whoa. And release. Last round. Let's work that bow and arrow. Okay, I'm holding this one.
I got another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Florence wants to know, what do you mean about bone density? That the machines at the gym will give you more or better bone density?
Yes, for bone density, they will. That we can tell from the studies. But bone strength and muscle strength can come from the bands and tubing. Got it? Now, let me tell you something, Florence. If it were I, and I'm only speaking from my own personal experience, I'm going to focus on strength. Because remember, that is so negligible and so individual regarding bone density. We all lose it as we age. Okay, last one. Whoa. And the other side. I hope that makes sense for you. There is a difference. But I'm not going to let that bone density frighten me. I'm going to pay attention to bone strength and muscle strength. You can't tell me I'm not working out right now. You just can't. But it also depends upon the effort that somebody's putting into it, right? If they're breathing, if you can sing while you're working out, you got a little issue with your effort there. You're doing the least possible. Okay? I want to stay on my breath. And that's it. I don't have any more breath left after that one. And the last round here of Arnold curls. And we'll take our 2 final stretches. and then we will have done it, people. Okay. Puff up the chest. Here we go. Yeah, I don't want to talk. I'm going for 2 more. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Okay. Let's stretch those out, all right? So tricep stretch coming up. Place your right hand on your right shoulder, right elbow. I want it to point down, not halfway, all right? The reason is because I want you to put it through a range of motion within that glenohumeral joint at the shoulder. So we want the elbow pointing straight up to the sky. We want the hand behind the head. Now, for some of you, you may not be able to do it on your own, so you go to the wall for support. Why not? Definitely can help you out. Slowly lower, other arm, elbow points down. Take it on up. Are you breathing? You should feel really great about yourselves, a total body workout. Now we're going to come into a bicep stretch, not for carpal tunnel, because this is why. We want to push the walls away. What is that? Wrist extension, inappropriate. So for my carpal tunnel people, straighten the wrists, reach out through the middle fingers. Don't go back here. That's something else. I want you straight out. So for those of us with the extension of the wrist, pushing the right wall away with the right hand, push the left wall away with the left hand. Now, just because it's staring at me in the face and we worked it, thumbs down, let's interlock behind us. Let's open up that chest again. Chest, bicep, front delt stretch. We did it before. Why not again? And I'm going to move each finger to break the pattern, the habit of how I typically clasp the fingers. And it feels quite different, the stretch. We release. Couple of big shoulder rolls. Big, lift them up toward the earlobes, not pumping the elbows. Lift the shoulders. And that, Mariquita, is what I have for you tonight, this, my dear friend. Thank you so much for bringing me back on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I was trying not to hurt my wrists or, like you were saying, with the carpal tunnel and everything, being very careful not to overexert.
That's right. Absolutely. You have to understand how to do it so that you don't create injury, but to understand that you can do it even if there is an injury. What I was talking about before was when I had the cast on, the cast was up to here. All right. And how am I going to engage the bicep then? So I actually had to negotiate with my hand surgeon based on a second opinion, but I gotten from a woman who, she's the hand surgeon for the NFL down here in Miami and also for the NBA. And so I told her, I want that cast shorter so that I could put bands and tubing here. And then I can get resistance work without bugging the broken bone at the wrist. And she said, you're right. And because she was the teacher of my hand surgeon that I hired, she said, if you have any problems with him, you tell me, I'll tell him. I'm like, yes. So that's how, because I said to her, I'm going to get osteoporosis again if I can't train for 4 or 5 months. And she said, you will. So let's get you to do this the way you want to do it. So that's what happened. But that was all from bands and tubing that I was able to prevent reversing back into osteoporosis.
That's amazing. Yeah, I remember when I first met you, you had your cast on and you still were going strong. You still came on. You still were going strong. So that's very inspiring. I mean, really what the message is that no matter what age and no matter what state you're in, there's things you can do to stay fit and to keep your bone density and to help yourself thrive at any age.
That's right. And to understand that sometimes some individuals need to be in a chair for the better part of a day. Maybe it's a wheelchair or not. And to understand you can exercise in that chair. You can do yoga in that chair. So
right.
It's important to know you can do it. You can do it.
Yep, you can do it.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this. I see my signals are whacking out here. So anyway, yeah.
Rob, may I just relay to folks where they can reach me?
Where they can find you? Where can they find you?
Yes. So anything that says Boomer and Beyond Wellness, that's me. So it's you can come to the website and reach out by way of the contact form on my website. That is boomerandbeyondwellness.com. And the same handle on Instagram and Facebook. I tend to hang out more on Facebook. And please come and support my YouTube channel. It's all about us, and the workouts are for us. And if you can just give me a subscription, I would so love that and really appreciate it. And it's Boomer and Beyond Wellness is the name of the YouTube channel. So thank you all so very much. I so appreciate all of you.
Definitely. Everybody definitely needs to go subscribe, and please hit subscribe here if you're enjoying this, but definitely get up. We got to take care of ourselves. So everybody up and active at 7 in the morning. Let's get out there on the beach or out on the trails and get moving.
Thank you. Yes. Joy. Always have fun. Find the joy, because it's a blast.
Amen to that. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Florence, Stephanie, JJ, and everyone else. Yeah. And thanks, Linda. Yeah. And thank you, Angela. Whoops. Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, namaste, vegan. Thanks, everyone.
Namaste, vegan.